There we go. Hello. I'm assuming you can all hear me because I have no way to tell whether you can see me or not. So that was the thumbs up. So I'm guessing you can. Can I just have another thumbs up if you can hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2. Go on. Anyway, well, we'll just carry on. See what happens. Hello, my name is Simon Edgoose. I am here with Drum Depot All-Stars. Hello, everybody, to show you the Yamaha EAD-10. Brilliant. Thank you, Julian. Loud and clear. Thank you, Lee. Brilliant. Okay, so EAD-10. I'm sure you've seen it. There's loads of different stuff to tell you about it. You know, when you go and see demos and stuff like that, the person says, "You've never seen anything like this before." Well, actually, on this occasion, it's absolutely true. There is nothing else like this. It's really, really clever. It's this thing here, if you can see that. And we're going to spend an hour. You can ask me lots of questions, and I'm going to show you the sort of thing that it can do. Right, so let's start off. What is it? What the hell is EAD-10? EAD stands for Electro Acoustic Drum, okay? And it is a system, so it's 2 boxes, which I'll show you in a second, for taking the sound of your acoustic drum kit and allowing you to do things with it. And they can be lots of different things, as we're gonna see. So, at its most basic, it's a microphone system for a drum kit like this one. Drum kit I've got here is the Yamaha Hip Gig. I've made one alteration, which is I've changed the rims. It's the aluminium snare, Zildjian cymbals, custom special dry ride, hybrid crash, 14 hi-hats. Completely standard, nothing special about it. 16-inch bass drum, so it's not going to sound like a 22 with loads of padding in it. 10 and 13-inch toms. So it's not your usual style drum kit, but that doesn't matter because with the EAD you can do pretty much anything you want. So let's have a look exactly what it is. First of all, the most important part. There's 2 different parts. If I just turn down the master volume here and just undo this and lift it off the bass drum, this is the most important part of EAD. And it's caught somewhere. There we go. Right, this thing here, this is the EAD sensor, okay? And this goes onto your bass drum. And there's 2 microphones inside, and there's a trigger inside as well. But we'll come back to the trigger at the moment. Forget I said trigger, okay? Forget I said trigger. We'll come back to that later. And we'll see what happens, okay? Right, now this is very, very smart. Because it mounts in the middle of the kit, and it picks up the sound of the whole kit. Now, you might think that's ridiculous, that's impossible, and everything else. Well, 1, I'm going to show you how it does work and how it sounds, which is pretty amazing. And 2, it's actually not that new. It's actually a really old studio technique where they will take a single microphone a bass drum to pick up the whole kit. Cymbals, drums, the works. It's not like Motown. Motown, they used to have a microphone over the kit, but it's a good old old-fashioned drum miking technique to have a large diaphragm mic or a large microphone underneath the bass drum to pick up the whole kit. So this little thing here, and it's pretty weighty, it's metal, it picks up the sound of the whole kit. I'm just going to mount that back on the bass drum. So let's just put that up here. There we go. That goes in the middle of the bass drum. And there we go, all done up nice and tight. And then there's 2 cables which go down to the box, the EAD-10 box module, which is here. Now hopefully that's just at the bottom of your screen, so you should be able to see it's pretty simple. We've got a little screen, we've got 6 knobs, and we've got a few buttons. It doesn't get much simpler than that. It really doesn't, and I'll show you how it all works in a bit. So, how does it sound? Okay, now, the EAD is the only thing miking the drum kit, okay? The only other microphone in this room that's active at the moment is the one I am speaking to you through, okay? So I did some tests earlier, and it made no difference to the sound of the drums whether I had this on or off. So I'm going to leave it. On, okay? Got you, Brett? And because it makes it easier, so I don't keep having to start and stop turning my mic on and stuff like that, okay? So what we're going to do, we are just going to listen to the sound of this kit Turn around. Just going to turn around this. Now, this, we're going to listen to the kit through the EAD, nothing else, okay? Everything you're hearing drumming-wise is just going to be EAD, okay? Now, this is completely flat. There is no effects on this. There's nothing special. It's just exactly as this kit sounds in the room, okay? So that sounds like this. Hi-hats. Okay, so this is just a completely flat sound, but I'm a drummer, I want more, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn one knob, the reverb knob, on the Arena kit, which is the first preset when you turn on the whole EAD system, and I'm going to add on a little bit of reverb. Now I'm going to tap the snare in so you can hear the difference, okay? So this is completely dry, and I'm gradually going to add more reverb. It would help, actually, if I plugged into the right system. Here we go. Oh, professionals, you can't get them anymore, can you? Here we go. Now I can. There we go. There we go. That's better. Right, you can also hear my voice going through it as well. Okay, so completely dry. Gradually introduce more reverb. So now I've got loads of reverb. Okay, simpler. It doesn't get any easier than that. This is the simplest way to mic your kit. You put the EAD sensor on your bass drum, you connect it up to the EAD module, you give the left and right out to the sound guy, and you're listening to that through a mixer and an iPad audio interface, and that's it. That's it. It just works. Don't worry, Gareth, there will be much more, much more. I'm just doing it little bit by bit, okay? So, loads of reverb. No reverb, somewhere in between. Easy, but I want to have a little bit more than that as well. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add some compression. So I'm going to turn up the next knob, which is the effects knob, and I'm going to turn it up halfway. And actually, I'm going to turn the reverb off. I'm going to put some of this compression on, and you'll hear the sound change, okay? So hi Alan, what this is doing is it's compressing the signal. It's making the quieter sounds louder and the louder sounds quieter. So it's just making it a big, fat drum sound, okay? So no compression. And then you could probably hear a bit more of the room. No compression. Compression back on halfway. Okay, loads of compression, totally 80s drum sound. Compression, a little bit of reverb. Okay, so I'm just talking about all these things, but I'm not explaining myself. So let me just go back. So the EAD picks up the sound of the drum kit through the microphone on the bass drum hoop, on the sensor, okay? And then it allows me to stick effects onto the sound of the drum kit. So reverb, everybody knows. Echo makes it sound like I'm playing in a big room. Compression is something which is put on all records to make it just sound tighter and fatter and everything else, okay? So with this, I've got about 40 different effects which I can put on the drum kit. So I can take my hip gig sound and I can do lots of very strange and interesting and wonderful things with it, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn all those off, and I'm just going to go up to the next setting, and I'm going to show you what this does, okay? I'm just going to hit the snare rim once. Okay? Lovely bit of delay. Isn't that cool? I have always wanted to be Stewart Copeland delay. So what this does, there we go. There we go. We're back. We're back. Right. So it takes the sound, and it delays it a little bit, and then plays it back and plays it back. So it sounds like you're in a big cavern. Well, let's put it on again. You've even got my voice in there as well. Andy Cash, you made it. How is Centre Parks? Right. So that's one thing we can do with it. Let's try something else. Okay, so that's a bit of Stewart Copeland. Let's do something John Bonham. Now, you've heard the sound of this drum kit without any effects on. Now we've got a big, fat, compressed, distorted drum sound. Perfect for those John Bonham stuff. It's so good. Now, okay, so a little bit of John Bonham, a little bit of Stewart Copeland. What else could we do? I'm just trying to think of something else. Some, really. Oh, thank you, Callum. Thank you for the compliment. Very nice. Was that Sean? Did you write that before or after? Because I've just played it. That's it. But yes, you're probably right. Anyway, so let's have a think. Who else? English drummer with a really distinctive drum sound. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. No, nothing. But I'm sure there's lots of other English drummers with really distinctive drum sounds. And yeah, if they do. Who would have expected that of a little hip gig kit? So that is a gated drum sound. What you are hearing, I'm not triggering samples. Hello, Sean. I'll come back to that in a second. You're not hearing samples. You are hearing the sounds of these drums through this microphone, okay? So there's no clever stuff. There's no samples and layers and everything else. You are just hearing the sound of these drums, my sticks, my voice, through the microphones, okay? So if I hit the rims, if I hit the bells of the cymbals, so now, without having to go into a studio and paying us an engineer and lots of microphones and lots of preamps and all the expensive stuff, can you save presets? Yes, you can. You've got 200. I'm going to come back to that, though. Don't worry. I can have that wonderful big gated drum sound, which is just brilliant. It's so good. Now, there's loads more of effects which we could go. Hello, Alan. Which we could go through. I will go through some more of the weird and wonderful ones further on. Right. So as someone's just asked about it, sorry, I've forgotten your name already. There's 50 presets. Okay. So those are to get you started. And most of the ones I played so far have been presets. But there's 200 of your own settings. Okay. So, drums from Dagenham. There's 200 of your own which you can save, but you can just back up to a USB pen drive, okay, and then you can have as many as you want. So if you want to have 1,000 different kits worth, then you can. Now, one thing to point out, because this is a microphone and it's not triggers and samples and everything else, it changes depending on what kit you're using. So if you're using a big 24-inch bass drum and 14 and an 18 rack toms, then it's going to sound very different from what I've got here with a 16-inch bass drum, 10 and 13 toms, okay? So it really depends on your kit. It will have the sound of your kit, plus the effects, okay? It's not going to totally change the sound of your kit. It's not going to suddenly make your 24-inch bass drum sound like a 20-inch bass drum unless you want it to, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Don't worry, Will. Don't worry. We'll cover a few other things. We'll come back to some stuff. Right. So that's the first thing. That's just using it as a microphone system, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about triggers. Now, when this first came out, everyone assumed it was a fancy triggering system, and it's not a fancy triggering system. It can trigger, but it doesn't do it the way that everyone thought it did. It's much cleverer than that and much simpler than that in a certain way. So what I'm going to do is, on the bass drum, the sensor with the microphones in it has got a trigger built in, okay? So what I can do is, on this kit here, I've called this a jazz kit, okay? A little bit of reverb, a little bit of compression. Now listen to the bass drum, okay? That is the sound of this Hipgigs 16-inch bass drum. But if I just turn one knob, I can introduce the sound of an 18-inch bass drum over the top. Thank you, David L. So here's an 18-inch bass drum coming in. You can hear that. Ooh, a little bit of distortion there. Turn it up too high. Going to take the sample out. Okay, so I'm going to put the sample back in. But let's change the sample. Let's do it. That's a jazz bass drum. Let's go for an RX-11, a bass drum, a drum machine. Very clicky. A vintage 50s with a muted heads, or something a bit more meaty. Something metal, very clicky. So you're still hearing the sound of this kit. Am I on the screen as a lefty? Oh no, that's a bit wrong. I'm actually a righty. Don't ask me why. It's done that, but it's done that. Okay, so I'm just taking the sound of this drum kit, but I can totally change it round. Okay, really, really, really cool. So I can make my 16-inch bass drum sound like a metal bass drum, very clicky. I could make it sound like an 18. I could make it sound like a 36 if I wanted to. It's really, really easy. There's 747 sounds built into this, and you can put. No, I'm not a left. And I can put it in another 100 samples of my own, okay? So I can just change the sound very, very easily. So let's do something else. Maybe a little bit of 808 bass drum. Okay. I hope you're listening on headphones. If you're not listening on headphones, please do, because you're missing out on all the low end. Maybe some even lower sound. Okay, very, very simple. Very, very simple. Or what I can do is I can also add on more triggers. Okay. Nothing wrong with lefties. You're right, John Harrison. There is absolutely. Thank you, Sean. The camera reverses the image, but when I tested it earlier, it didn't. Okay. Hang on. So don't ask me why it's doing that. Okay. So what we're going to do is I've got another trigger here, a Yamaha DT50S, and I'm just going to plug it in and I'm going to put it on the snare. So what I can do is I can add a snare trigger with head and rim, okay? And I can also add up to 3 more mono triggers. So I could trigger a whole 5-piece kit if I wanted to, straight into the back of the EAD. Now, you're not going to really be able to see much close up here, but I've got my left and right cables, which is what you're hearing. I've got my snare trigger, which is here. I've got my bass drum trigger, which I'm actually slaving to something else at the moment, which is what started the Phil Collins In the Air Tonight style loop earlier. But that's about it. It's really, really simple. But I could add enough triggers to... Oh, sorry, Chris, what do you keep asking? Chris Leonard, please ask again, because I've obviously missed you. Why is it called that, Isha? Okay. Oh, I don't know. Right. So I can trigger a whole 5-piece kit, and I can and mix it with all the sounds from the microphones. Okay. Right. Apps. We're going to come back to the apps in a bit. We haven't got to the apps yet. There's still lots more to do. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I've got the trigger on the snare. So I've now got a sample on the rim. Okay, easy. So I can start triggering off my snare drum as well. So what I'm going to do on this one is, if you can see that, but you can't because it's all in reverse, so that says calf heads. This is a kit, this is a preset, one of the 50 presets, and it's designed to change the sound of your kit to something much older. So I've actually got a sample of a Radio King bass drum, and Chris, I've seen your question. Android app, I will get back to it. Honest. Right, so that's called calf heads, and I don't know what it sounds like through your monitor speakers, headphones, computers, phones, and everything else, but here it sounds absolutely brilliant. Excuse the Madonna look, but it means I can hear everything nice and clearly when I'm sitting right on top of the kit. Now, there's so much other stuff. I can, if I want to add crackle to stuff, okay, want to do some old style, hello Bob, old style hip hop. Okay, there's 1,000,001 different things. Okay, so now one thing we haven't talked about is how sensitive is this. Okay, hey. Hi Bob, hi Andy. Recently gigged mine for the second time. Yes, sounds great even through headphones. Was that kick on top of the sound? No, it's actually a tuned down tom to make it sound to make it sound big and fat and old fashioned. Okay, but well spotted. Okay, now let's have a look about how sensitive this is. I'm playing pretty lightly in here, okay, because it's not a massive room, my studio, and it's a small kit. So what I was going to do is just show you quite how sensitive this whole thing is. I'm going to turn off my snares, okay? I'm going to turn off my mic for this, so you're only hearing the EAD. I've got a shaker, and I'm just going to put a little bit of reverb on. Let's just try that. Yeah, that'll do. And mic is going off now, okay? You'll see how sensitive this is. If anything, the shaker's a bit too loud. I'll hold it over here. Turn my mic off. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you are a really, really light player or whether you are an absolute beast behind a kit with massive sticks the size of toddlers' arms. It just works. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. Oh, hello, Richard. Right. So, phenomenal bit of gear. So, just to sum up what we've seen so far before we go on, it's a miking system for a drum kit. It allows me to put effects on the drum kit. I can send those effects to front of house. So if you're gigging, you can use it as a pickup system for the whole kit. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, it's fantastic. Now, it's different from a conventional miking system. It's not going to work in all situations, just as normally miking a kit doesn't work in all situations. If you go into a pub the size of a phone box and expect to go through this and have it cranked through a PA, then you're going to have problems, just as you would do with real microphones. If it's a venue or a place where you would normally mic the kit, then you can use this no problem. Okay? Now, as far as reach is concerned, everyone's very interested in how much feedback you'll get from guitars and all this sort of stuff. Well, yeah, but you get bleed through microphones anyway, but through conventional microphones. This is no different, okay? It works. I've only found one situation where we had the PA on exceptionally loud that it was a bit. It was on the edge of feeding back, but just on one patch, which was the John Bonham one, because the compressor is up really stupidly high. But for all the other ones and just normal reverb and effects, no problem at all. Unless you want to go to extremes, you won't have a problem, okay? It's really easy, okay? Now, lots of different stuff I've got to show you here. One, let's just, if you can see this, I hope you're watching this on the big screen. And of course, it's back to front for whatever reason. Thank you, Facebook. What I've got is these three knobs here: reverb, effect, which is generally compression or anything else you want, and trigger, which is the volume of your samples. So if you can see, if I just tilt this down, you can see the lights getting up and down as I turn the knob. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see that, I hope. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I can just look at a patch and I can see how much reverb or how loud the triggers are or anything else like that. So it's incredibly intuitive. It's incredibly simple to work. Let's face it, it's so simple, even a bass player could probably use it, you know? It's that simple. Great, phenomenal. There's an aux in, as we talked about in the back earlier. One thing I missed off, there's an aux in, so I can just plug in a phone and I can, or anything else, and I can play along with it in my headphones. But that leads us on to the next thing. Now, this white cable here is a USB cable, okay? And this plugs in, and I've got it running to a camera connection kit, which is this one here, and I've got my phone going through it. So now, everything I play on my phone digitally goes into here, so there's no analog, so the volume, the audio quality is absolutely perfect. So I could just trigger a track. If it's too loud, I just adjust the volume with the audio click knob on the front. Very, very simple. So it's just so much. Now, one thing I'm just going to go back to is, if you can see, there's a USB pen drive in the back here. And that is because I can use the EAD to record in bassist roast klaxon. Absolutely, David L. I can use the EAD to record myself. I can record in 3 different ways, okay? So one is I can just record directly into the module, okay? So what that means is with or without the USB drive, I can just hit record, start playing, and it works. So let me show you what I mean. Let's use the arena. Let's use a little bit of reverb, a little bit of compression. Hit record. Let's just take that out. There we go. Right. Here we go. So. You see, it doesn't get any easier than that, does it? Now, I'm going to put the pen drive in the back, and I'm going to just try and show you something else. Okay, so, what we're going to do is, okay. I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to play a little bit of Shaker. Okay, I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to play it back, and I am going to hit record straight after. Okay. I managed to just record over myself. Let me try that again. That was clever. Right, here we go. I was already in there. But as you can see what I'm doing, I'm just recording myself over the top. So what I can do, breathe. What, am I not breathing? Come on. You know what I'm like, Alan. So I can just record myself, and I can hit play, hit record, and I can just play again straight over the top and record myself, and I can layer up as many as I want. It's absolutely incredibly easy. So I can use this to construct some drum loops at home, and then I can just export it to my computer, and I can use them to do something else. Okay, so that's one way of recording directly into the module. The next way of recording is this. Now I can connect the EAD to my computer with a single USB cable, and then I can record directly into my my computer as an audio interface. So I can record drum tracks straight in just using a USB USB cable. No interface is needed, okay? And if you use GarageBand or Logic or Pro Tools or Cubase or anything like that, you can just record drum tracks straight in, complete with all the effects. So you can play along with your tracks. You don't need to have any other microphones. This can replace a whole set of microphones. Okay, it's not going to replace all the microphones in a studio, but for most situations, for home studios and everything else, you can just do it. And for those of you who do MIDI, lots of MIDI stuff, what you can also do is if you've got triggers on the drums, you can output the MIDI data from the drums and the audio data into your computer at the same time, which means you can trigger things like Superior Drummer, Addictive Drums, anything like that. If you don't understand what I've just said, don't worry, it doesn't matter. But it's immensely powerful, whether you are you've only been playing a short while, or if you've been playing 40 years. It's really, really useful. Okay, right. So the third way of recording is onto this. Now, I'm going to show you. This is going to be back to front, so that's going to be a bit of a pain, isn't it? So sorry about that. This is called Rec and Share. And what this allows me to do is take any track, okay, and right, if you can see that, in fact, let's just do this. Actually, no, I won't put it on there at the moment. Right, so this is what the app looks like. This is on iOS only at the moment. Android is coming, okay? Android is coming. I don't know how long it's going to be, but Android is coming. And this allows me to open up any song in my iTunes. So it could be Justin Bieber, it could be the Royal Symphony Orchestra, it could be Royal Philharmonic even, but it could be anything you want. And what it does is this. This is the track by itself. Okay? But what the track does, what the app does even, is it puts on a click. Okay, so that could be anything you want, anything you've got. The Justin Bieber I mentioned earlier, the Police, the Beatles, whatever. It will put a click onto the track. But what you can also do is, if I just turn this round, is I can slow the track down, speed the track up, or I can also adjust the mix of the click and the track. So if I want to turn the click up, bit loud, let's turn that down, I can just do it, okay? So I can, this is free. If you've got an iOS device at the moment, you can just download this for free. It's called Rec and Share, R-E-C-N Share, okay? Rec and Share by Yamaha. And you don't have to have the EAD to do what I've just shown you, okay? You can't add subdivisions to the click at the moment, okay? Because it doesn't know what it is. Right, it's Alan, it's called Rec and Share, R-E-C-N, whatever that is called, Share, okay? R-E-C-N-S-H-A-R-E. Yeah, it is super cool for learning tracks, Julian. Absolutely, and also for teaching. One thing I found it's great for is teaching, because for players who need a click because their timing's not good enough, which I probably crop up in as well. It's very, very good. You can put a click to anything. I had 7 days up by Sting the other day for a student, and it tracked it perfectly. Wreck and Share, Leebird, that's absolutely it. So I can add clicks onto anything. Okay, let's get rid of the reverb on my voice. There we go, that's better. So that's the first thing this does. But the next thing this does is this. Now, I'm just going to tilt the screen onto here. I'm just going to mount this here so you can see it, hopefully. Hang on. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Should we put it up a little bit higher? Right. Now, I'm going to push start recording. Okay, and then I'm going to hit the button in the middle. Oh, look, it's a backwards me again. Okay, now, just going to save that. Right, and now if I just press recorded songs, isn't that cool? So I can just use the EAD and the iOS device, whether it's an iPad or a phone, for recording drum videos instantly. It's as quick as just pressing a couple of buttons. You just saw how quick it was. I can use any of the effects on here, and what the app does is it takes the video from the camera and it takes the audio from EAD and it mixes them together. Then when you've saved it, you can change the mix. So if the music's too loud, you can just turn the music down, turn the drums up, whatever else you want to do. Brilliant. Absolutely phenomenal. So that's Wreck and Share. There's 1,000,001 more things you can do. It's brilliant. So let's have a look. What do we need to do? I probably ought to answer some questions. Good audio syncing. Very clever Yamaha. Yes, Richard, absolutely. So what happens is you just open up the track. If it's in your Dropbox, if it's in iTunes or whatever else, and the app opens it up, analyzes it, which takes about 10 seconds, and then that's it. It's done. Simple as that. Every time you go back to that track, it's done. And you can speed the track up, you can slow the track down, you can make the click louder, quieter, whatever else you want. So it's all there. And that's the one you can use without having the EAD. So, yes, get it. It's free. It's free. When you add the EAD into it, though, that's when you can use the video and you can actually start filming yourself. But just as a teaching tool, Wreck and Share by itself is very, very good. Mark Decker's brilliant. Yes, absolutely. So let me go back to some of the kit sounds. I'm going to get rid of the phone. I'm just going to put that over here. Now, you've heard, for those of you who've joined more recently, I'm just going to go back and just play some of the stuff that we were doing earlier. So this is the Hip Gig kit, 16, 10, 13, 14-inch aluminium snare, 21-inch special dry ride, 19-inch hybrid crash, 14-inch K hi-hats. And this is the kit completely flat, no effects. Little bit of reverb. Now, say I don't like that reverb, I can just press one button, the reverb button, strangely enough, and I can change that from a small stage to a big stage, a room, studios, plates, early reflection, gated reverb, whatever you want. There's loads of different sorts of reverb, so I can just make my one drum kit sound like it's in lots of different rooms. So you can hear the effect on my voice as well. That's because it's being picked up by the sensor. So I can just take the sound of my acoustic drum kit, and I can instantly adjust whether I want more or less. So if you just want an instant Steve Gadd sound, just a little bit of compression, a little bit of reverb, and you are done. Simple as that. So I can take the sound of my kit, I can change it in lots of different ways using effects. Then I can add on triggers. I've got a trigger built into the sensor on the bass drum. I've got a trigger on my snare drum, so I can add other sounds onto that as well. So I can start layering drum sounds onto hang on. Yeah, okay. That's if I want to have samples layered on top of the acoustic drum sound. Okay. Then I can mix that in any way you want. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier there's 747 sounds built in, and there's 100 I can bring in myself. Now, earlier I put a sample onto my pen drive. I'm just going to slot it in the back, and I'm just going to go exit, go into the menu, go to job, go to wave, go to import the one I know. Done. Okay. Now, if I go to this kit, on the rim of the snare, let's try something. I'm going to go to here. Scene edit. It's very, very simple. Like I said, bass players, even they can do this. Let's go to voice. And let's go for the wave that I've just put on here. So that will be this one. Here we go. Turn the volume up. That doesn't sound like the original sample I put in. So let's just tune it down. It's as simple as that. So now I've got tambourine on the snare, head, and on the rim. Forgive the American accent. Yes, Wal, you can use, as Wal's just said, you can use any sort of triggers you want. So you can add in your own sounds. If you've got a particular bass drum you like, bass drum sound, a Lars Ulrich bass drum sound, or a sample you really want to use, then you can just load it in here and you can layer it on top of your acoustic drum sound. Okay. Now, where have we got to? I've shown you how sensitive it is. It can be used with anything. One thing, let me just take the trigger off the snare. Oh no, I'll leave that on actually. I'll leave that on. Let's just put a little bit of reverb on. Now, I am no brush player, but you can't see that because of the mic stand. Let's move the mic stand. There we go. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm no brush player, but you can hear that. So, yeah, anything you want. Anything you can do on your kit, it will take that sound and it will allow you to do something else with it. Okay, now, I've got some betas here as well, just because I wanted to show you just what you can do. Again, this is just going through the microphones. Anything you want to do, you can do it. It's that sensitive. It will pick up anything you want, okay, including your hand claps. So now, if you are worried about the amount of spill on stage, there are some fantastic videos on YouTube from an American player. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I will tell Brett and we'll add it onto this afterwards if necessary. And he's done some recording through the EAD when he's been doing some gigs to show other people how much spill there is. And he plays with a big country and western artist in Canada. And you'll be amazed by how little spill there is, okay? And that is due to the microphones. The microphones don't just pick up everything on stage. These microphones have got a range. They've got a range of about 3 foot either side of the kit, maybe a little bit more, maybe about 4 foot, okay? So if you've got a big kit, if you've got a second floor tom, no problem at all. If you've got a nice big china over here, when the sensor's over here, no problem at all. If you've got a line of rotor toms, well, actually, no, maybe not. But or if you've got a big kit, you know, it's fine. If you've got two bass drums, then it starts getting interesting. Now, I know people who have used EAD on a double bass drum kit, and it's worked fine. And I said to them, you know, how on earth did you do it? And they said, well, we just put it on the right-hand bass drum, and it just worked. Don't ask me how that works, and I don't have a double bass drum kit to try it on, so I'm afraid I can't tell you how it works. But it's, you know, it really is, it does work. So if you've got a double kick, it will work. Doesn't matter what size drums you use, doesn't matter anything. There's only one proviso as far as the bass drum is concerned, okay? And that is really it needs wooden hoops, or it needs full-size hoops. You can use metal hoops, full-size metal hoops, but it won't fit onto a tom hoop, okay? So a triple flange hoop on the bass drum. But Sean Brown, who's responsible for Yamaha marketing, found a way to work. If you want it to work on your bass drum, which has got metal hoops on the bass drum, what you do is you get another hoop and you put it over the top, and you use the tension rods to hold the whole lot on, and then there's enough space for the sensor to fit onto it, okay? So, right. There must be questions. There must be questions. I've seen a few go past, but if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. Do you want to hear anything again? Do you want to, you know, is there something in particular you want to check? Oh, one thing I haven't mentioned, just going back to the recording, if you're just recording into the module, you've got 90 seconds, okay? In one go, and then when you record, it records over that. So you've just got 90 seconds in one go. If you put a pen drive in, and you start recording onto that, then you can actually record in 30-minute sections. So that could be a whole lesson. Now, for teachers, this could be fantastic, because you could actually video and record the audio of a half-hour lesson, or two for an hour lesson. And yes, Brett, will do. And you could film the video and the audio, and you could send it to the student before they've even left the room. It's that quick. It's that quick and easy. Do you get any audio clipping if you put too much effects on? No, you don't. And that is because this all works on something called DSP, which is digital signal processing, okay? And it's very, very clever in the fact it's not analog. It doesn't, if you just turn the volume up and up and up, and it doesn't gradually distort. It will analyze the signal and reduce the volume so it's not clipping, okay? So it's so it just works. It's very, very good. I haven't had it clipping at all. I'm guessing because you can adjust the volume of the microphone inputs depending on how loud a player you are. If you have that set too hot, then you might do, but then it's because it's adjusted badly. For everything else, no. I mean, if you heard the John Bonham set earlier, would two sensors go into one module? No, they don't at the moment, I'm afraid. I've completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, sorry, I shouldn't answer questions and talk at the same time. But you get the idea. Okay, now let's have a look. See, would two sensors go into one module? No. Lee Bird, yes, I agree with you. For live sound, is straight into mixer, or do you need an interface? No, you just take the left and right cables and go straight into the front of house, okay? I am monitoring what I'm hearing and what I'm saying through the front of the module. So if I was doing this live, I would just plug my in-ear monitors into the headphone output of EAD, and away you go. If you want to mix in your usual foldback, then yes, probably get a little mixer just so you can adjust it. Would it work okay in a live situation with an additional bass drum mic, say a Beta 52 or Beta 91? Yes, it would. Where do you want to put the Beta 52 or Beta 91? And that is a sensible question. Do you mean on the front of it as well? Because or do you mean just going out to the front of house? Yes, absolutely. Either way, it'll work. Next question. There's a million of different ways of using this. Okay, right. So I'm just going to show you a couple of things. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to do was this. I'm going to show you how easy it is to build your own preset. Okay, so I'm going to pick a track. I'm just going to wait for my phone to wake up. There we go. And here we go. So let's pick this one, okay? Okay. Oh, let's turn that down. Okay, so I've got a very simple effect here. I've got no effects on it, but I want more than this. Okay, so let's play the track and just play the drums as it is at the moment. Okay, that doesn't work for me. I need more, so I want a bit of reverb. I don't want that reverb, I want a big stage. So let's go for a stage. There we go. Let's put my snares back on. That sounds a bit better. Okay, that's fine, but I want a little bit more. So how about some delay? Let's put some delay on the drum sound. So what I know that the track is at 100 BPM. So I've already told the preset that the track is at 100 BPM, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to select, hang on, effect, tempo delay, and I want it to play eighth notes. So 100 BPM playing eighth notes. So now, if I just come out of it, it should do this. Okay. Hi, James. Okay, so we now got a delay on it as well. So if I play the track again. That's sounding a bit better. The bass drum's sounding a bit light. So I want to put a sample on that. So yeah, let's put something else on. Let's put an 808 or something like that, only because it sounds. There we go. How easy would you say is for someone who has not previously had any experience in using electronics? Very, very simple. It's basically 3 knobs. Okay, that's it. Don't think of it as an electronic drum module, because it's not. It's something much different. 3 knobs, a save button. In total, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 knobs plus a power button, and 11 buttons and 6 knobs. That's it. It's very, very simple. Okay, Sean. Another Sean. Does the app need Wi-Fi since the studio has no Wi-Fi? No. Once you've got all the tracks loaded onto it, they're loaded onto it. So that's it. Obviously, you need Wi-Fi if you want to back it up. But apart from that, no, you don't need Wi-Fi. So let's go back to this track. So I've now got 808 on the kick. Quite a hard one. Oh, let's have a really big one. Okay, we've got delay. And we got a little bit of reverb. Easy. Now, another thing just to mention, let me just take all the effects off my voice because I don't like that, I mentioned DSP earlier, digital signal processing, okay? And what that is a clever way of looking at the audio which is going into the microphones and doing stuff with it. And what this box does, very, very clever, it divides stuff up into different bands. So it knows where the drums are roughly, it knows where the cymbals are. So if you listen carefully, the effects which I got on the drums, did I make this track or are they in EAD? No, that's the track I did. So if you listen very carefully, the effects which are on the drums are not on the cymbals. So if I just go back to the gated one. But if you notice, the effects aren't on the cymbals. They are on the hi-hats because they're slightly different, they're a shorter sound, but on the ride, okay, so it's really, really clever. It works in a very, very simple way that is almost not noticeable to most people using it. Yo, Stu, thank you, Bob. Clever, yes. All the tracks, for those of you who've missed it, all the tracks I'm playing I'm just playing off my phone. I'm using a little app called QZ, I think it is, which allows me to just load up samples, and it's just going in digitally via a USB cable and the camera connection kit. This is the one you need. Now, possibly a little bit of a moan about Apple here. The app only really works well with the actual Apple camera connection kit or the USB 3 cable, okay? The cheap ones you can buy on eBay for £2, they don't work. I've bought enough of them. I've probably been to about 10, 12 of them, and they work great for about a couple of hours, and then suddenly, mysteriously, the iPhone doesn't want to talk to them anymore, or the iPad doesn't want to talk to them anymore. Okay, so don't ask me why that is, but yes, so you need to get the actual Apple one, and it's expensive. It's about £29, something like that, but it does work, and it's never let me down. It's absolutely top notch. So you need the camera connection kit if you want to link your iOS device up to your EAD. That's it. Right, more questions. Fire away. Thank you, Bob. Yes. Anything else? I'm guessing, Tom, this is perfect for you. Whoever you are, nice to have you here. Right, how long have we got? We can't have got that much longer, have we? Oh, no, we've only got about 2 minutes. So, right, does that all make sense? So this is EAD-10. It's a device for capturing the sound of your kit, allows you to stick effects on it, allows you to add samples, allows you to do lots of other things. So you can then link it up to your iOS device. You can play tracks from your phone directly into here. You can record directly into the module in 3 different ways. So 1 is directly into the module, 2 directly into your computer, 3 directly onto your phone using the Record and Share app, okay? Rec and Share, RECNSHARE, okay? Which is free, and you don't have to have the EAD to use it. You can have 200 patches. You can actually have limitless patches because you can just save them all on a USB pen drive. And you can have a different patch with a different tempo and a different whatever else you want. You can add more pads onto this. You can add triggers onto this. I haven't even mentioned pads. You can add 2 Yamaha 3-zone pads onto this as well. So you can have 2 pads and have 6 different surfaces to hit if you want to do that. You can add triggers onto a whole 5-piece kit and have them all going into here and trigger samples out of here. There's 747 sounds built in. You can add another 100 of your own sounds. Okay. Anything else? Live situations. Any questions? We have, a minute's left. Anything else? Have I explained it? Is there any other queries you might have? If you want more on the AD, look here. Yes, thank you, Brett. Yes, the eDrum Info is my website for helping drummers with their electronics problems. Thank you, Brett, for that. Okay, anything more? Oh, lots of you watching. Thank you very much. That's great. One more question. Superb, that's Simon. Thank you very much, Lee. Si, what's the advantage of using this live? Well, the advantage of using this live is it takes you about 30 seconds to mic the kit. You put the sensor onto the bass drum, plug it up to that, give the sound guy 2 cables, you're done, okay? And it means you can change the sound of your kit as you're doing it, and also it means that you are in control of your drum sound, not the sound guy. So if you have specific sounds that you want to use live, you can do it. You can also use this at the same time as a normal miking system, and also for people like you, Bob, if you're a serious user and you do lots of gigs where you don't always have great sound, you can use this as your own drum monitor. You just put the sensor on the bass drum, plug your in-ear monitors into this, and you've got perfect perfect sound. It's brilliant. Great session, Simon. Thank you. I've had to play with one of these and enjoyed. Thank you very much. Great. Very good. Fantastic demo. Thank you, Alan. Gosh, so many names here. I know. It's great. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Right. I'm going to call it a day. So have a thoroughly good week. Have a good Easter and all that sort of stuff. And I will see some of you in Frankfurt in a couple of weeks' time. Otherwise, I will hope to bump into all of you at some point. And yes, brilliant. If you see me, please come up and say hello. It's always nice to meet you. Lovely. Thank you, Drum Depot. Thank you, All Stars. Thank you, Brett, for putting this on. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Yamaha, for making the EAD in the first place. I'm going to reach over to the iPad and turn it off, so I'm going to wave bye. See you then.